Welcome to Chronic Combat Conversations, a live look at our best bets, picks, and predictions for every UFC event. With your hosts, TB Scouting MMA and
The Guru back again for UFC Vegas 78. Vicente Luque taking on Rafael dos Anjos in your welterweight main event. A banger of a fight. 5 rounds. Should fucking be an interesting one to say the least. 2 technical strikers. But before we can get into this awesome card, we've got a fantastic guest in the building. I call him a money-making machine. I think that's pretty fair to say. Make sure you're checking out all his stuff at fightnumbers.com. Man, Jon Kelly, DFS, in the building. What's good, brother? Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. This is my return appearance, I guess you can say. And after linking up with you guys in Jersey for the UFC Aljo Cejudo card, I was like, you know what? I got to get back on the pod. We got to link up again. So here we are, excited to break down the card with you guys.
So awesome to actually get to hang out in person, and be real life friends like that. That was a super cool experience, and to get to watch some good fights. I mean, what a gentleman. And he's got to bring it up.
And Mr. Kelly over here, let me tell you, the president himself, he's the guy that orders outside pepperoni pizzas to the barber at because they're not serving pizza. Gets delivery to the door, and this guy feeds the table. What a guy. And that's why he gets all of our vote. But before we start this show,
I was about to say Jon Kelly. I'm sure Jon Kelly, not a Jewish name, but us Jews, that we call you a mensch for that. That is called being a mensch. So
you gotta do what you gotta do, man. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Well done, man. So we appreciate you.
Want to give a shout out to everybody here in the chat to start. We got Mushroom. What's going on? He's shouting out everybody. We got Daz in the house as always. Always supporting everybody in the community. Appreciate all you guys, and Pink Floyd showing up. Oh, hell yeah. Right in time, baby. You made it. We even held up an extra minute for you in the classic Chronic Combat fashion. Please like and subscribe. It means so much. It helps us out. Recommending this video to everyone. If you throw a like on the video, throw a comment, tell your friends, subscribe. It does so much to help us out. And is Mushroom a mensch? He's a mensch. What's up, Dirge? What's going on, man? Appreciate all you guys hopping in. So once you do that, thank you so much. Let's get down to what we really came here for today. We got the welterweight main event. And thank you, Guru, for not saying the title eliminator because, I feel like sometimes we stretch it. This one wasn't even close. So, all right,
they're working their way there, but not quite.
We got Vicente Luque versus Rafael dos Anjos. Do we have legitimately good nicknames for them? Because I feel like for such
Luque, I'm sorry that it's not written. Luque is the silent assassin. He's got a great nickname.
And Rafael dos Anjos, he doesn't have an official nickname. His name is kind of cool enough on its own. So
we'll RDA is perfectly fine.
RDA, perfectly fine. He doesn't need a crappy TV nickname this time around. So as we get into breaking down this fight, though, Vicente Luque, 31 years old, coming in. I mean, it was plus 100 as I did this about 2 or 3 hours ago. We got Vicente Luque already slid to minus 105. Dos Anjos at minus 115. Looking at this fight here, I mean, Dos Anjos is going to be 7 years older, 3 inches shorter, giving up 5.5 inches of reach. But I sit here and I can't help but think, damn it, RDA is going to get the offensive wrestling going. His striking defense is so much better. He should be able to, work into the clinch, get some takedowns, throw the leg kicks, throw the body kicks from southpaw, and have some success here from distance. But as I'm kind of looking around, the line keeps sliding the other direction. And, narrative based, Vicente Luque had to get cleared by an independent neurologist from a brain bleed after his brutal, devastating knockout against Jeff Neal. And it wasn't just round 3 where he gets knocked out. I mean, this guy was hurt and on the ropes in round 1 as well. Classic Vicente Luque fashion, survives the early storm, turns it up round 2. But, I mean, round 3 comes around and Jeff Neal, hands of steel. Whew, man. So Vicente Luque, is he going to be the same guy after? I mean, you watch the way he got knocked out also. I mean, he face planted into the mat. It was not pretty from any stretch of the imagination. His first career knockout loss. So at the end of the day, is Vicente Luque going to be able to withstand the same amount of damage coming forward into the pocket? And is that even a concern here, as he's the more violent, the bigger guy, going to be throwing the bigger power? Is RDA just going to get knocked out like we saw in his matchup against Fiziev? I lean towards the RDA side here. I think he gets his wrestling going, and I think if the money line keeps coming tighter and we get some plus money on RDA at the end, I might just have to do it. But Guru, what are you thinking here, man? You got a solid play?
Well, what an interesting fight, right? I really, man, Vicente Luque. When you look at the tail of the tape, right? He is the younger fighter by 7 years. He's got the 3-inch height. He's got the 5-inch reach. RDA is a guy that's been back and forth from 155 to 170 to 155 to 170. A guy that's been plagued by the not having a 163-pound weight division, right? Man. Luque not only has the physicals, right? He's got the power, he's got the accuracy, and he's got the pace. So even the numbers are kind of on his side. The problem is, of course, RDA's ability to mix up the offensive wrestling, like you've stated. And I've seen a ton of people saying on Twitter, oh, well, RDA's not going to be able to do what Bilal Muhammad did, so I'm on Vicente Luque. Listen, I get it. Bilal's a different type of wrestler, but let me remind everybody of the Merab and Jose Aldo fight. You don't have to take somebody down to control them. RDA is more than happy to control Vicente Luque here up against the cage. Hold him there, push him there, elbow him there, make it really tight for him, and start to wear on his cardio and wear on those arms. So I think RDA is going to be comfortable doing that. And you think, oh, well, why didn't he do it against Fiziev? Well, Fiziev not only has unbelievable takedown defense, and he's completely elite striker, but Fiziev's a Muay Thai specialist. He specializes in the clinch and against the cage. So you're going to struggle in those positions. Vicente Luque is not that guy. And you've seen versus Bilal Muhammad. Or in a lot of other fights, his takedown defense is kind of porous. And he aggressively finds a way to eventually get to his feet, but he's not like somebody that consistently does it, if that makes any sense. So with all that being said, I like RDA, and like TB already said, I kind of am hoping I can maybe touch some plus money. With that being said, at this moment in time, I think the fight will take a little bit of time to get cooking. Both of these guys are extremely durable. I like fight to start round 4, minus 134 on FanDuel. It's minus 165 on DraftKings, so I think that line's going to correct, and maybe we can get a little value there. But like I said, I think they're both really tough, and I think we eventually see championship rounds. So if I can get that ticket in and not have to pick a side in a fight that's been causing me literal agita all week, I'm okay with that. But maybe Jon Kelly can help ease my agita and everybody else's. So, John, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I thought I was going to come in, with a hot take to start off the show here, but it sounds like you guys kind of like the RDA side as well. And I got to be honest, I think the only reason why Luque is so popular here is for 2 reasons. One, RDA is, almost 39 years old, and there's definitely been, everybody loves the trends of like 10 years younger fighters always win, blah, blah, blah. So I think people are just blindly fading the older guys now. And I mostly, I kind of do that too, but you always need the context. And here, like, I think RDA, even though he is older, I don't think it's the same situation like another older fighter that we'll see on this card, like a Cub Swanson, who it's very clear he's on the back end of his career. Whereas RDA has pretty much proven he's still very relevant in the division. You mentioned the move between 155 and 170. That's the second reason why people, I think, are fading him, is just because he's giving up some size here, 5.5 inches of reach, as you have on the screen. But skill for skill, RDA is clearly the better fighter to me. Vicente Luque, while he's very exciting, he has that brawling fighting style where he just wants to move forward and trade shots. That's why he's taken so much damage over the course of his career. You know, he's gone to wars with he has basically fought him down to the level of competition in a lot of those matchups. You know, you go back to the Mike Perry matchup. Mike Perry's busting him up before he got his nose twisted to hell. And then the Brian Barberena fight, like, yes, he won that fight, but Barberena was landing some really big shots there too. Like, Luque is always getting stung in a lot of these fights, and it's because his striking defense is just not very good, to be honest with you. And he's never really been the greatest at defending takedowns either, right around 60% in the UFC. You mentioned the grappling upside, Guru, that RDA can lean on here. I think he can do that too, but I also just think he's the cleaner, more technical boxer on the feet. So I think RDA should be a sizable favorite here. I don't understand the line movement, and he's going to be a play for me come this weekend.
What I'm most excited to see is if he ends up being your cold plunge pick of the week. I don't want to jinx anything. Are those still clean? Are those clean, brother?
No, we hit a little bit of a cold streak. The Daniel Perez week. I mean, brutal. Yeah. He rips Rafael Filho to the body, hurts him twice, doesn't follow him. I mean, just an absolute brutal one. I had a max play on him there, unfortunately. So yeah, that one hurt. And then I think there was one other loser after that, but we righted the ship last week with the chalk in the main event with Corey Sandhagen. But no spoilers. You'll have to wait till Saturday to see the cold punch.
I'll be ready. I'll tell you that much. And I'll also tell you that I was celebrating Ibarra's finish, and I don't know exactly what happened.
I mean, brutal, man. I don't even want to relive it.
No, I don't blame you.
Here's what happened. It was last Saturday night. The Jake Paul, Nate Diaz walkout was about to happen. And Guru's like, listen, hang around. We got to talk next week's card. And after like running down the whole thing before we left, it was like, I really feel good about playing Dos Anjos, but let's see. Like the line is like minus 138 on FanDuel, minus 125 on 365, and like minus 115 or minus 118 on DraftKings. And we're like, you know what? DraftKings doesn't give you an even cash out. Like, let's just see where the line moves in the morning. Line moved the other way, and we're like, we missed it. Oh no, but it's moving back. So RDA, man, I think circling back around from my original thoughts coming into this process, I got to go with RDA here. That'll be the pick and the play. So, moving right along, we got our featherweight co-main event of the evening. We got Cub Swanson, or is it that guy on the skateboard singing along to Fleetwood Mac, versus Hakeem Dawodu. Cub Swanson's real nickname? Does he have one? Or is Cub like his nickname technically?
That's it. Who? Wow.
Right?
Did anybody know his name was Kevin Luke? What the fuck? Kevin Luke Swanson? I had no idea.
Kevin Luke Cub Swanson.
Learn something new every day.
Look at that. Right. Holy shit. Wow. All right.
See, this is why you should follow Chronic Combat. We dig up the dirt on all these guys. Cub Swanson plus 185. Amin Hakeem minus 225. I mean, I couldn't be any more disappointed in Mr. Hakeem Dawodu. After we had him as like the most confident pick of the week, placed the bet, comes into the weigh-ins, looks absolutely miserable, misses weight, and just looks just as bad on fight night. I mean, the cardio, the get-up game, the pressure Julian Erosa put on, and something we know about Hakeem is he doesn't really have that one-punch knockout power at the UFC level. But what he does have is he has some calf kicks. He's got some kicks all around, and Cub Swanson, I mean, he's been vulnerable to the body, to the legs, everywhere. Even against Daniel Pineda, Cub Swanson was struggling a little bit with those leg kicks in the first round before Pineda remembered, oh my God, it's the second round, and can't do this anymore. I'm tired. So Cub Swanson, you know, he skill for skill, like in his prime, probably one of the, like a matchup that he should win. But this could be like a hindsight, you know, Cub Swanson, you know, didn't tell everyone he was going to retire, but like it was his retirement fight, you know, like that could be the story. But ultimately, Dawodu's got a bit more reach. He's going to be the younger guy. And while he had a disappointing matchup against Erosa, still was able to avoid the late type of submissions that Erosa's gotten on guys in the past that have looked bad and gassed out. So I think Dawodu will do enough here to out volume or land enough leg kicks that Cub can't stand anymore. I'll take Dawodu here, but in this economy, if you think I'm taking minus 225, then you got me completely messed up. So I'll do like a Dawodu and over 1.5, maybe, if that shortens the line for me. The over 2.5 itself is at minus 130, but Yeah, I think the same game parlay option will be where I'm at. What do you think, Guru?
Yeah, what an interesting fight that they give Cub Swanson here, because they give him a fairly a stylistic matchup, like you kind of highlighted, that like a classic Cub Swanson, like this is the fight that you want. Um, Problem is Cub Swanson is, right, like you're saying, is towards the tail end of his career. He's going to be the slower fighter. His durability is clearly checked out, which again, when he's known for going to an absolute war with Doo Ho Choi, right? When that's what gets you into the UFC Hall of Fame, um, and that durability aspect is kind of gone. It becomes extremely difficult for me to even think about you from a money line perspective as a dog. Hakeem Dawodu, like you've already highlighted, missed weight in his last fight, looked horrible, and just honestly has been, with all this technical skill that he has just had a fairly underwhelming career. Does he has no UFC finishes. They're all decision wins and 3 losses. So it just hasn't really panned out to the most success for him. And in this fight, I just see Dawodu as a guy that fights to the level of his competition. So I don't see Dawodu going out there and icing Cub Swanson, and I don't see him going out there and putting on some crazy fucking clinic. So there's no way that he's going to earn that minus 225 price tag in my mind. What I do like is I like the fight to go the distance at minus 105. Maybe that's fucking insane, but if I'm thinking about anything on this fight, I just think that they fucking just strike for a little while. And that's it. They're just gonna kick each other and spin around the cage. Um that maybe that's fucking insane. But otherwise I don't really like playing this fight at all. I don't really see a need to play it. But Mr. Kelly, what do you think? Am I crazy?
No, I don't think you're crazy. I pretty much see it the same way as you guys. I do think Dawodu is the rightful favorite here, but I mean, I'm not going to pay minus 225. I wouldn't parlay him either. I think the best way to play him is like TB said, is go do a same game parlay, add in, an alternate over or like a 10 minutes over or something like that. Any of those options with Dawodu money line just to improve that price. Because I do think ultimately this is probably going to decision. I know Swanson, we talked about earlier, on the back end of his career, his last 2 losses have come by knockout, but Dawodu doesn't really have that big power like you guys mentioned. So I ultimately, I do see it being Dawodu getting the win, but I think it's probably like a 30-27, 29-28 at worst. So I think the speed's going to be a big advantage for him here. The footwork, the striking. I think he's the better boxer at this stage in his career. So I'd say Dawodu by decision. And that would be either chasing the decision prop or doing the same game parlay, like you mentioned.
Listen, we also saw Ricky Simon get knocked out by Uriah Faber, so anything can happen, especially in these co-main events when you think a guy could fucking retire. But to your guys' point, Hakeem Dawodu and over 1.5 is plus 100 on DraftKings.
I think that's very good.
Yeah, that's honestly as good a value as you'll probably find on Dawodu in this fight. And I like doing that better than the round 3 decision, because I feel like, there could be some sketchiness from a durability.
In this fight, I'll take an extra 2.5 minutes. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, especially if you're still going to give me plus money. So I feel like I'm going to double check and make sure that Bet365 doesn't have a better line on that for us. So make sure that you guys are like going ahead, checking multiple books, making sure that you're getting the best line out there too, because that's the thing. Like when it gets to like minus 110 versus plus 100 in the long run, it might not sound like much, but if you keep on beating that movement in the long run, you're going to be in a better place. So if there's anything you learned today, I hope it's that. Our next matchup, we got a light heavyweight. Talk about another mean guy. We got Khalil Roundtree Jr. Coming in against Chris Daukaus. So Khalil, I mean, neither of these guys have an official nickname. So Khalil, is this going to be Tiger? Going to be the sad Khalil Roundtree, because we had one guy show up like versus like Marcin Prachnio, and that was just not so fun seeing sad Khalil Roundtree. But when he comes out and he's ready to put on a beating, like the guy that came back from like Tiger Muay Thai that camp and just absolutely destroyed Eric Anders, I mean, then Khalil Roundtree should be like -1,000 in this spot. Because Chris Dawkins, I mean, every time he's been losing, it's basically by knockout. And this is a guy that's letting Parker Porter get on the inside and land some shots before he ended up beating him. So I feel like Khalil Roundtree is another one of those guys where like -180 in hindsight could look so short. But if you're not playing Khalil Roundtree by round 1 knockout and Khalil Roundtree by like round 2 knockout and just leaving it at that instead of playing the -180, you're doing the whole thing wrong. So Chris Dawkins, of all of his losses in the UFC, all of them by knockout. Every single fight of Chris Dawkins in the UFC has come by knockout. So even the fight just to end by knockout, but I think Khalil Roundtree by round 1 knockout or Roundtree by round 2 knockout. That's my official play.
Yeah, I don't really like this fight at all. These fights that everybody just automatically assumes don't go the distance end up burning everybody by going the distance. And Khalil Roundtree, like you've already said, like I don't trust him. I mean, you don't like I don't trust him at the money line. Fuck that. I don't trust him to do anything. He's not shown up so many times that he could come out here and pitter patter fucking with Chris Dawkins. And would you be that fucking surprised? I really, really wouldn't. And I want absolutely nothing to do with it. Yeah, I mean, Khalil Roundtree should win. Yeah, he's the rightful favorite. Yeah, Chris Dawkins has been knocked out in the round 1 of his last 3 fights in a row. And yes, all of Chris Dawkins' UFC fights have ended inside the distance. There's just no value. And I mean, unless we're just parlaying chalk, I'm just not interested at all. I just don't really have much to add or say. Should be hopefully it's a fucking quick fight. So then at the same time we got more commercials. So maybe I'll actually now I hope I'm right. And the plus 380 the distance ticket cashes for nobody that bets it, and we don't have to watch as many commercials, and I don't sound as crazy. So Jon Kelly, what do you think? Am I crazy?
Yeah, this is the first fight where I think we all have kind of a different look here. You know, TB likes the Roundtree early knockout. Guru likes the fight to go the distance. I have some interest in Chris Dawkins here. I think it's a buy low spot. Obviously, it's not going to feel great. You know, you mentioned he's on a 3-fight losing streak, knocked out in all 3 of those. But let's not forget the level of competition between what Roundtree has been facing and Dawkins is massive here. You know, Dawkins was knocked out by Rosenstruck, who's one of the better kickboxers in the division, ton of power. Curtis Blades, who a lot of people thought was going to be fighting for the belt, myself included. And Derek Lewis, who has the most knockouts in UFC history across the heavyweight division. So it's not that Roundtree can't knock him out. You know, definitely the chin is a concern for Dawkins. But I also think there's a lot of concerns on the Roundtree side as well. You know, coming off that Jacoby fight, most people didn't even think he deserved to win that. You mentioned a couple fights back, the Pratchett fight where he just didn't let his hands go. I just think he's a guy that relies on those big moments, the big power shots. And if those don't come, he's not really a super heavy volume guy. He doesn't really defend takedowns well. Like there's a lot of ways that he can be beat. And I'm not sure that Chris Dawkins can, you know, expose those holes, but plus 150 range, I'm starting to get enticed a little bit. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to a bet on the money line, but maybe like a Dawkins round 1 knockout, something like that. Roundtree has been knocked out multiple times as well. So Dawkins is generally a fast starter, you know, not the most skilled guy, but comes out hot, has some fast hands. So yeah, I don't know, man. I might be on the other side and back in the blue this weekend.
For the record, I don't actually like the fight to go the distance prop. But
I mean, if you don't like it, don't throw it out there, man.
Yeah, Guru.
Listen, I'm really just talking shit. I just as like a fade the narrative type thing. I really didn't like much in this fight at all. I guess I like the under 1.5 if I have to do something legitimate. But why would you play that at minus 175? So
fair enough. I like the and I see the path, I see the perspective, and especially as someone that regrettably played Carl Robertson against Khalil Roundtree. I get it.
I think I might have too in that fight.
Right?
Brutal.
Yeah. I guess really what you have to wait to do is wait for the Bruce Buffer introduction during the fight. And like if they get Khalil Roundtree like staring into the camera again, and he's like giving you he's like looking in, and you see that, like, yeah, it's got to be Roundtree, right? I don't know. Anyways, we're moving on. I don't think you should have too much money in that fight unless it's the dog. So there we go. Strawweight, we got Polyana Viana, the cosplayer, versus Yasmin Lucindo. This fight should honestly be a banger. Or so it's Dama de Ferro, like the Iron Lady, Polyana Viana. Yasmin, she doesn't have an official nickname.
Handsome.
Yasmin Conejo Jr.
No.
No, neck tattoo similarities. I don't know.
No.
Handsome, the handsome one. So Polyana Viana going to be 10 years older here. They're the same height. Polyana has a 1-inch reach advantage. Viana coming in as a significant underdog. Actually kind of closed up on the line a little. She was more than a plus 200 dog, now a plus 170. Then Lucindo a minus 205. So Viana, I think, has kind of the finishing potential in this matchup. I also don't think it's possible for Viana to outpoint Lucindo at all. It's very clearly like if Viana's going to win, it's going to be by finish. And for all the time she's been to decision, every single time, all 4 she has lost. Yasmin Lucindo, high volume, athletic, clean technical striker, can throw in combination. She has offensive wrestling, but the thing that sticks out to me and makes me worry, she's got those 3 submission losses on record. And, she can get into some dangerous positions shooting a bit aggressively. Now, that's not going to come back to bite you against Brogan Walker, but Polyana Viana, if there's one thing she can do, it's get a submission. So I don't think I feel good enough about Viana straight up to pick her here, but I will not be parlaying Lucindo in the same right, even if she is the official pick for this fight, because I think she has potential to, potentially win inside the distance. It's just the only time that Viana lost inside the distance was by submission. I don't think that Lucindo's shown me she can be aggressive enough to find that. So if anything, I would say Lucindo by decision or Viana by submission would be like the 2 props I would look to play. I'm going to pass on a money line here, but Lucindo is my official pick. What do you got here, Guru?
Yeah, this is another really sketchy fight with, Yasmin Lucindo, a girl that likes to, try to get her grappling going, right? She is comfortable switching stances, but she really likes to get her grappling going, and then she's got 3 submission losses against a girl in Polyana Viana who is, fairly violent for a division that's not necessarily known for its violence, and she's fairly opportunistic for snatching up submissions. So that being said, she's submitted the likes of Mallory Martin and Emily Whitmire, the latter of whom I believe is a cocktail waitress at the moment. So I'm just not sure that she's really submitting anybody that can actually, grapple. She's got who did she submit? Maya Kuna. I don't know who that is. I actually really don't know who that is. Her UFC debut is against somebody I've never seen before. So, yeah, she's gonna she needs a submission here. So if
you're
you're
telling me you don't know
dog,
Maya Stevenson?
it's not her last name. A and B. I think if you're playing Polyana Viana, I think you play her by her win condition, which is the submission. Otherwise, you're picking Lucindo, and I think you're kind of moving on. I don't like overs or under. I don't like any. Nothing's jumping out to me. Maybe John's got something special, or maybe he's got a DFS type situation he likes.
Yeah, I think it's kind of harsh, that you're gonna, throw some strays towards Emily Whitmire's way. She's catching strays out here for no reason. That's brutal. I did see Jay Miz in chat with the profile pic, so I thought he might like this guy here. Yeah. I thought that was funny. But yeah, as far as this fight goes, not a ton of interest for me. I'm basically in the same boat as TB. I think Lucindo by decision, most likely outcome, but Viana, you can never really count her out because she does have such a dangerous guard. She is going to throw up submissions if you take her down. On the feet, she does have power, even though she's not putting a ton of volume out there. But I think maybe take a stab on Viana and finish only markets if you get a decent enough dog price there. And though I don't think those are released yet, so I don't even know if that's going to be accurate, but that'd be the look for me. I do think Lucindo probably gets her hand raised though.
Polyana Viana minus 135 finish only on DraftKings.
Okay. So no plus money.
No plus money. You can get plus 100 on Miss Lucindo.
Hey, listen, man. We all find a way to get along. You know what I mean? We're all friendly peeps. You know, it's good stuff. Appreciate you in the chat as always, my brother.
That's funny as fuck, actually.
That's
I
amazing.
appreciate that.
And that's why we appreciate John.
Is that a jab at me? Like I'm too straight edge to hang with the bong bros? Is that what he's
Nah,
saying?
I don't know. It's a great
Maybe.
Never know.
Man,
hey.
Emily Whitmire's catching strays. I'm catching strays.
It's
man.
unbelievable.
Don't worry, I'm always catching strays.
Jeez.
And TB's on the corner catching strays. You can catch him Friday nights on the corner of.
Jeez. All right, it's getting brutal in here. Look at this fight. We got the
talk about getting brutal in here. Let's talk about this fight.
Hold on a second.
All right, let's go. Tell me
because
talk to me.
All right, we got AJ A1 Dobson. That's a TB nickname versus Tafon.
That's a great nickname. Good for you.
Versus Tafon Dadon Chukwi. That is not a TB nickname. Believe it or not, the good nickname in this. No.
I like A1.
Yeah, right. AJ Dobson plus 120, Tafon Chukwi minus 142. We have a 6-2 with 1 no contest versus a 6-3. Tafon Chukwi, one of the weirdest things. Going back and watching tape of the Jun Young Park fight, I thought I misheard it when they read the scorecards. But you go to the UFC stats, and it's like somehow you had one scorecard where Tafon Chukwi, got a point deducted for kicking Jun Young Park in the nuts violently a few times. But then one guy gives the fight 28-28, saying Chukwi won 2 rounds. The fuck. And then someone else gives it 30-25 Jun Young Park, kind of rightfully so in my mind. So as I digress, that was Tafon Chukwi down at 185. The last time Tafon Chukwi fought at 185 was against Jun Young Park. Then he goes up, realizes, oh, damn, Jun Young Park was so fast with that jab. He was always getting out first. He got the takedowns. And even though Tafon kind of lands a really nice hip toss counter to a takedown and gets some top control on Park, I don't think he did anywhere near enough to even win like 2 of those rounds, let alone 1. So Tafon Chukwi now coming back down to 185 after being knocked out in his last 2 fights. 1 Azamat Mirzakhanov and 1 Carlos Olberg, except those 2 fights went very differently. Tafon Chukwi winning the first 2 rounds against Mirzakhanov before being violently KO'd with a flying knee to open round 3. Guru can give you his perspective on that one. It was sketchy. But listen, Tafon Chukwi, it's kind of, he's either fighting guys that don't deserve to be in the UFC, like Al Mataval on Contender Series, or Jamie Pickett in his debut, or slow Mike Rodriguez in his 3 wins. Whereas his 3 losses, anytime he kind of faces someone with real potential, he falls out short. So AJ Dobson, I know he's 0-2 in the UFC so far, but getting grapple fucked by Jacob Malkoun, I can kind of excuse you for, and being outstruck from distance by Armen Petrosyan, I can also kind of, give you a pass for. And he's been somewhat competitive. I know he loses 30-27, but he's pushing forward pressure. He's throwing with a decent enough volume. And Dobson actually shows that he has a little bit of offensive wrestling himself. I think against Tafon Chukwi here, AJ Dobson's going to get someone that's coming off of 2 knockout losses, cutting another 20 pounds back down to 185, and who's probably going to be at a speed disadvantage once again. I kind of like Dobson here as the plus 120, but something's telling me not to bet this fight, but I'm picking Dobson, and I'm going to place a little something on Dobson. I like the plus money here.
I'm gonna be completely honest and transparent. I don't have to admit this. I did not realize that he was cutting back to middleweight. That was totally an overlook on my side. And beforehand, I was just really on a pass. And now after that, I'm totally on Dobson. And that's, I kind of wanted to be there anyway, because it's kind of the sentiments of what you were saying, TB. I'm not sure that, like, getting grappled by and struggling to get and in reverse, struggling to get your grappling going versus Jacob Malkoun in your debut, and then struggling to take down a really good kickboxer and athletic takedown defense guy in Armen Petrosyan in your second fight. Like, I can't really knock you too much for that. And Tafon Chukwi is somebody that's just been, honestly, has kind of grown up in the UFC here on some level, right? I mean, was 3-0 coming into Contender Series. And the only thing he has to show for it are wins over Jamie Pickett, who we'll get to talk about, and Mike Rodriguez. I'm not making fun of him. That's his chosen nickname. So no, the slow Mike Rodriguez no longer in the UFC. Jamie Pickett on his way out. And getting finished in the way that he got finished. The Azamat fight was, he was winning, but it was like fucking sloppy. Azamat just wasn't really able to get going at all and was kind of stuck in the mud in his own debut until he launched a flying knee and launched Tafon into outer space because his corner hyped him up. Dude, you're the man. You're about to finish this guy. Da, da, da. Gets all excited and then gets clobbered because he's a silly little boy. And then Carlos Ulberg, they're like, here, why don't you just take this fight? Why don't you just take this L real quick? And Carlos Ulberg's like, all right, I was supposed to be on The Bachelor, but instead I'm here to fuck your face up again. So he gets dropped, outsped, out fucking classed, and was supposed to fight Pogues and Victor Petrino. And he was going to get smoked in either one of those fights probably too. And now here he is against AJ Dobson. So we haven't seen him in over a year. So dog or pass, right? Dog or pass. Jon Kelly's going to be way more concise, but I have a feeling that's what he's going to say.
Yeah, your feeling would be wrong on this one. I'm gonna go on the other side of you guys.
Wow.
I honestly, like, I do think it's a competitive fight, and I'm not betting Tafon and Chukwi. I basically line it exactly where it's at. You know, Tafon small favorite -140. I think that's about right. The reason why I'm not advocating to bet him is because of the concerns you guys mentioned. You know, 2 knockout losses, not sure if I trust the chin, dropping back down to 185 here. But I do think skill for skill, he's the better striker here. I think he plays better defense. You know, he has that high shell, unless you could sneak a big punch past him. But Dobson's not like super powerful. He does have some power, usually early in the fight. But I do think it's kind of one of those where it's just a close fight. Both guys eat some shots. I wonder, I haven't looked at totals. I wonder what the total is, because I wouldn't mind shopping an over.
That's what I meant to say. I didn't want to cut you off. I got so overzealous breaking down the fight. I didn't give you my bet. And I like the fight to go the distance. I really do. Because you've seen Tafon get taken out by Azamat Murzakanov, who has finished all of his fights except Dustin Jacoby, who is very difficult to finish. And you've got a guy in Dobson who clearly is tough as shit. And, you know, it doesn't necessarily have much finishing equity at the UFC level, as it seems anyway. So I like fight goes a distance at +120 on DraftKings. Over is set at over 2.5 +100.
I'm probably going to play that over tonight, to be honest with you. I'll just throw that out there.
I really do like it, because I like I said, I don't see much finishing equity in either fighter, and both guys are actually tough. Problem, of course, would be Tafon's weight cut, and maybe, but Dobson's not really like a straight up like striker like that. Like, he's not gonna put him out like Ulberg did, for example. I mean, I guess anything can happen, but I like the over too. That's what I came away with.
All right, very nice. Love that. We found consensus on at least one thing, and the other thing that I'll say is you guys better find a consensus on hitting that like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It means a lot. And also, link in the description to make sure you're following Mr. Jon Kelly DFS at his socials and at his website, Fight Numbers. So make sure you guys are all over that. And we will move right along to our... Jesus. We got our middleweight matchup. Josh Fremd at -345 versus Jamie the Nightwolf Pickett at +275. Does Joshy have a good nickname for us? That's what I was wondering.
No.
Let's see.
He needs a nickname.
No.
It's the Nightwolf versus the White Wolf. I don't know.
I don't know. That makes it. Yeah, that's terrible. Let TB do his thing here. We got Josh Mile High Fremd versus Jamie the Nightwolf Pickett.
Why Mile High?
Because he trains in like, Factory X. So he's up in the mountains.
There
He's
you
got
go.
some cardio. I
Does he?
feel like that. I feel like that does well for him.
Does he train
Better
at
than
Factory X?
better than your dumb nickname.
Yeah,
All right, yeah, he does. So we got 29 years old. So Josh Fremd is going to be 5 years younger than Jamie Pickett. He's going to have a 2-inch height advantage, but he's actually given up like 3.5 inches of reach. That's not normal for Josh Fremd. Generally is going to have the height and reach advantage, but he's kind of also used to that because Cedric Dumas also had a bit of a reach advantage, even though being the shorter guy. And we all saw how that fight went. Let me tell you something. Jamie Pickett has a lot less finishing potential than Cedric Dumas, and he's got an offensive clinch control game and just kind of like grindy combos, but Jamie Pickett has 0 UFC finishing potential, and he's been finished or lost by decision plenty of times. I think Fremd's got much better volume. He's got offensive wrestling. As long as he doesn't let him, go full Trayshawn Gore and rip his neck off and try just jumping against the cage to escape. And actually, maybe he learned how to fight the hands after that. You never know. But I don't think Jamie Pickett has the same type of finishing potential. So I think Josh Fremd is actually like one of those safe parlay pieces at minus 345 this week. So not like, parlaying my life away, but if I had like a little 1-unit parlay that I'm cooking up, he would be the first leg this week. So minus 345, little like keep it cautious, not a max play, but I feel like he should get it done. It's just I've seen him give it up badly before, so I can't trust him with too much. That's why I gotta find a piece to go with. And yeah, I know I get it. It's wild, even though if he ends up the right side, it's just like looking in the mirror at Mr. Jamie Pickett. What are the solid wins that he's had? And it's what I mean. The only guy that
he's beat Joseph Holmes and Lorena Staropoli.
So 2 guys that one shouldn't be in the UFC, and Staropoli was moving. I mean,
he's no longer in the UFC.
Yeah, he could just be controlled against the cage by anybody. I think Fremd is a little bit too big for that and good for that, and he actually knows how to strike and separate. And he's going to use his own offensive wrestling. If he had any real issues, I think Josh Fremd would have gotten washed out his last fight against SD Dumas. It's just, and he was beating Trayshawn Gore too, and to last the distance against Anthony Hernandez. God, the dirty, disgusting things that Anthony Hernandez would do to Jamie Pickett. But I get it. I'm telling you not to bet like Yasmin Lucindo, and I'm telling you to put a parlay out there on Josh Fremd. Like, I get it. It's sketchy. It's just looking at Jamie Pickett in the mirror, I see a lot less danger coming back than like I think Pauliana Viana has legitimate finishing potential and has a path to victory. Like, I just don't see a path to victory for Jamie Pickett in this matchup. So cue to Saturday night where I'm like, what the fuck? How did Jamie Pickett just win this fight?
But, listen, at 100%, Frem is not necessarily a high-level fighter by any means, and he's not necessarily somebody that's earned a minus 345 price tag at the professional level. That being said, Jamie Pickett's not exactly somebody that belongs at this stage. He's somebody that may have the reach advantage, but isn't somebody that uses it very well or really at all. He's somebody that they literally just gave to Bo Nickel just to get him into the UFC. We haven't seen him since. Maybe he's getting his mental right. I don't know. His best path to victory, right, would be knocking out Josh Fremd. Josh Fremd's been finished once, and it was by Hobocop. And Hobocop's a fucking beast. Jamie Pickett, not so much. So I'm not exactly as concerned about Josh Fremd being chin checked. So that's where I do see the willingness to parlay Fremd. I kind of like maybe like this is insane, right? Like the over 1.5, which is kind of chalky, but I also still like the fight not to go the distance. Like, I don't necessarily trust either of them to make it like the whole 15 minutes, especially Pickett, but I do think it'll take its time to unfold. So wherever you can get a better price, I kind of like it. The over 1.5 is minus 175. So I don't love that. But what does Mr. Kelly think?
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, I was in the same boat. You see the odds and you're like, Josh Fremd at minus 350. I mean, what are we doing here? But then you kind of look into it more and it's like Jamie Pickett, like you said, I mean, I'm not even really sure what his path to victory is here. I kind of see this really similar to that Dumas fight where Josh Fremd cashed a big underdog ticket for a lot of us. And this one's similar to that, except for Jamie Pickett is even less dangerous than Dumas is in the first round. So, like, if we're dealing with a pretty similar fighter with less tools and less finishing ability, I really think Frem can win this fight on the feet or on the mat. I think he's a better technical wrestler. I think he's a better grappler, and I think on the feet, it's probably no argument that he's better. You know, he's going to be active with the leg kicks. Once you fight with him in the clinch, he's very nasty with the knees and elbows. And Jamie Pickett loves to fight in the clinch, and I think he's going to lose that battle against Josh Frem. So even though it's a big price tag to pay, I do think Josh Frem probably handles him, breaks him down the stretch, and gets like a second or third round finisher.
Yeah, I could see submission or knockout.
Yep.
Either way.
Same.
But see, but when the way you say second or third round, like you kind of feel crazy like I do, like the over 1.5, but still pretty confident fight doesn't go the distance. So like I like that. Makes me feel
I think late finish, late second or third round.
I love that
submission. So if maybe we'll get a big number and play like a little bit of money on like a 22-1 round 3 sub or something.
I love it. Hit one of them off to hit a 12-1 last week. I love that on what's his face, a Sue. Round 2 submission. That was fun.
That was fun.
Nice.
In your opinions, did Frem crap the bet against Score? I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
He probably wins that fight.
A kickboxer from Alaska FC that has no career submission wins. Yeah, shit the bet.
Yeah. All right, so we are moving on to our next matchup. We got the bantamweight banger alert. We got JP Young Savage, Money Can't Buys Me Love, versus Marcus the Maniac McGee. Man, JP moving back up to bantamweight here. He said,
"Money also can't buy him Cheyenne back."
Yeah, that was the subtle joke being made.
No, it didn't. Yeah. There was a Beatles song.
Yeah, Money Can't Buys Me Love. That's obviously a reference to his past transgression.
Well, I thought that's because Buys is his last name, not because
right. But I like mixed it all into one amazing.
Like it can't buy him love because he lost his love.
Yes, exactly.
All right. I'm a little slow. I just like the Beatles. I'm sorry. All right, my bad.
Fuck. Thank you, John, for being there with me.
Jesus.
Appreciate you.
John's super slick. Not so much.
See, this is what the people come for. We're a good time, you know. Oh baby, yeah,
Can't
really
buy me
sub parlay. Oh yeah. So JP, I will say, listen, JP coming into the UFC, for him, wow, I'm breaking out all the rhymes, but Bruno Silva, Montel Jackson, short notice up a weight class, and then Cody Durden back down a weight. I mean, all those fights in retrospect are really fucking tough. Marcus McGee coming in on short notice, huge underdog to Journey Newson. I mean, he looked amazing, and I really like Marcus McGee coming in. I picked him, and I bet him. And I think that minus 360 Marcus McGee is a bit too much of an overcorrection. However, he's got the size, he's got the reach, he's got the better striking on the feet. But JP's got, a certain path. I'm sure he can land a takedown here, or at least get in on the hips. It's just McGee has shown really strong ability to dig for underhooks, reverse guys when they go for takedowns recently. I know he's got that submission loss on his record, but I was impressed enough with what he had on tape to think that he could handle Journey Newson. But that was picking him as like a plus 200 something dog. I can't do the minus 360 here. I get it though. I get it. Like the pick is Marcus McGee. I can't with a straight face pick JP Bays or anything. But I mean, if you're going to talk about where potential value could be, like Bays round 1 is the, if you're going to do anything on JP, that's how he wins fights, right? It's by round 1. So don't take the dog shot at plus 285. Do like a round 1 finish. But Marcus McGee is my pick, and I think he ends this fight inside the distance. I just don't think there's any value on that.
Where is JP Buys training right now? Is he at Extreme Couture? Is Eric Nixick in his corner for this camp? Like I just don't know where he is or what he's doing, right? He hasn't fought in over a year now. So I'm sure he's desperate, anxious to get in here and fight, right? And yeah, he's got a tough matchup against a guy that's bigger than him and has obviously a little bit been more active recently and came off one of the most impressive short notice appearances in recent memory.
and we picked him, which we loved. But yeah, like you said very well, TB. McGee has JP Buys has a clear path with wrestling and to get a submission. So it's the same time McGee has a clear path to get a knockout. I like the fight. Obviously, I'm sure like the bookies do too, not go the distance, which I don't believe there's a good yeah. I mean, over 1.5 is plus money. So I mean, geez Louise, they don't really expect it to go very far at all. I mean, they call him the maniac for a reason. So yeah, I mean, with that being said, he's got plenty of finishes in round 2 and round 3. So I actually would kind of like the over 1.5 at plus money. I kind of want to take a stab at that. But again, a weird thought for a fight that I feel definitely won't go the distance. So what do you think, Mr. Kelly?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is just I can't trust the chin of JP Buys. I mean, he's literally been knocked down 8 times over his last 3 fights, knocked out in 2 of those. It looks like picture trading with who's that? Osborne and Albazi with him.
Yeah. He was also rolling with like Aljo and a few things. He's been at the PI for a while. So he's been in Vegas.
It seems like he's doing the right things, got some good guys around him. I don't know if you can trust the chin here. Obviously, you're getting a great number if you think he rocks up and finds a chin. But even in that scenario, like I'm not even sure that his grappling is all that great, to be honest with you. And now he's giving up a little bit of size here, moving up to bantamweight, like you mentioned. Marcus McGee is very powerful striker. And I just keep going back to, even if JP is getting off with the grappling a little bit early, then, round 2 starts and suddenly McGee just lands something big and tests the chin. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to talk anybody off of it if you're taking the dog shot. If you do like buys, I would say try to target a submission. I believe that's the only loss McGee's had was by submission. So maybe go that route at a bigger number. But I think McGee's probably going to knock him out, unfortunately.
Yeah, I totally agree with that sentiment. And that's where I was like, is there a cheeky shot to be had? The inexperience of McGee. He looks like he fits and belongs in the UFC.
He's got a cool cooking
talent.
show.
Yeah, he's got a good personality, good fighting style. I minus 360 is killing me here. So
this is what you do. Are you ready?
Okay.
This is what you do. You parlay Marcus McGee to Terrence McKinney in the most he left because that was the worst fucking parlay. You parlay them both in the most combustible parlay of all time, right? So they are completely volatile.
Christ.
Right? You're still not even plus money there yet. So, and you know what? We can even add. We haven't got there yet. Well, we can add another guy to it. Hey, you know what? Yeah, Josh Frem to it. Done. There you go. Josh Frem, Marcus McGee, and Terrence McKinney. The sketchiest parlay of all time. Book it. Book it. We're booking the sketchiest parlay of all time.
God, can easily get Marcus to plus money. Yeah, fair enough.
No, this is the easiest way. No, this is the easiest way to get there, Zach. The sketchiest parlay of all time. You parlay McGee, McKinney, and Frem to get plus 122. That's easy money. Just pick winners, yo. Just pick winners.
Fair enough. well, that brings us to our next fight as you're parlaying out. Mr. Terrence McKinney at minus 278. And we got Mike Breeden coming back on the other end at plus 225. What's the problem with
parlaying Terrence McKinney on short notice? It's not like he's only got 5 minutes of cardio and no chin.
Well, see, so he really isn't affected by the idea of a short notice matchup. Quite frankly, I made a little poster. I was like, I'm really concerned about how Terrence McKinney's, otherwise stellar cardio is going to look on short notice. It's like, is that really a concern here? I mean, because really it's just the same story no matter what in this matchup.
Of course it's not a concern. Exactly. It doesn't make any difference.
So I think what does make a difference is that Mike Breeden, when he comes up to the UFC on short notice, he's getting ended by Alexander Hernandez in the first round. And it's like Alexander Hernandez and Terrence McKinney are basically the same person. Right? I mean, if things don't go their way in round 1 from, a power perspective, it gets ugly real quick. Maybe Terrence is a bit more drastic. Like at least Hernandez has lost some decisions. But I feel like it's the same kind of idea. And I feel like, McKinney should just outclass Breeden in that first round. And it should be enough for him to find the finish. But if you're not backing your Terrence round 1 play with like a Breeden round 2 and then a Breeden round 3, then I don't know what you're doing. You really messed up because the whole fight is a dart throw. Because McKinney should win this based off of just like, skill, talent, athleticism on paper, better finishing potential. But yeah, I could totally see a world where we get to that 4.5 minute mark again, and it's like, Terrence not looking so good anymore. So,
And
back
Terrence
yourself.
needs a win, man. Like that's why he's here on short notice. He needs a win, and I think he knows it. So I think he's hungry. Like you said, I think you got to play Terrence McKinney in round 1. You don't even, unless you're doing my insanely degenerate, awesome, disgusting, horrific parlay, you might as well just play Terrence McKinney round 1. And yeah, and then maybe just be ready to live bet Breeden if he survives. Because if he's surviving through 3 minutes of round 1, you might be like, you know what? He's plus 600 right now. Might as well take a shot. Oh, that's so long. As long as Terrence fights like he really was getting re-signed, yeah. Yeah, he needs to fight like he's fucking like his contract, like his job's on the line. Like his being a fan favorite is not going to be good enough if you can't beat guys like Mike Breeden is. And I think that's your point, Zach. And I think he needs to. And I'm picking him to do so in my disgustingly disgusting parlay. So McGee, McKinney, and Frem. If I'm being completely honest, if I feel the sketchiest out of any of them, I feel the sketchiest on Marcus McGee. And that makes me feel pretty good. So what do you think, Mr. Kelly?
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think McKinney, I mean, you guys touched on it. I think we're seeing him get back in here 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, whatever it is, because it is kind of a tailor-made matchup for him. Mike Breeden's never been able to defend takedowns. He doesn't have a great chin either. He's been knocked out multiple times. It's possible that he could land a big shot early or something like that. But honestly, I think he's going to be on his back very early in this fight. I think McKinney does get that round 1 finish. He's getting a step down, in my opinion, from Nazim Sejikov, who's a very good prospect, now going up against Mike Breeden, who's 34-year-old regional grinder, heavy power in the first round, but I don't think this fight's going to play out on the feet very long. So I think McKinney gets it done in round 1. I think probably the way that I'll target it is try to in the same game parlay streets, McKinney money line under 1.5 and McKinney takedown in round 1 or something like that. And I bet you might be able to get around even money or somewhere close to it. And you're still basically capturing all of that McKinney win condition.
Well, I love that. That's like boing. I'm in on that.
Chef Boyardee cooking it up. So we got our next matchup here in the featherweight division. We got Francis Fire Marshall versus the Midwest Choppa, Isaac Dolgarian. Can the Fire
People's
Marshall
main event?
Quite frankly, this thing's going to be a banger. I mean, Marshall.
Talk about some solid prospects. Tell me about him, TV. Tell me about these solid prospects.
Let me tell you.
Belmar's own Francis Marshall.
Oh, yeah. Joyzy boys. So Francis Marshall. I mean, this guy, I'd say he has some pretty solid wrestling and some like pretty decent ability to, get after it from distance. It's just a lot of time getting after it from distance means he's going to be swinging in air. As we saw against an accomplished layered striker in William Gomez that can keep some distance. I think Isaac Dolgarian is a guy that comes out hell on wheels, looking for a takedown, looking to smash, throw some heavy leg kicks, overhands, close the distance, get on top, get mount, finish the fight within 2 minutes, see you in a few weeks or see you in a couple months for your next fight. I mean, Dolgarian has not really faced any level of resistance on the regional scene, and he's fought guys that are like 6-7 inches taller than him, have longer reach. He's had a title matchup on FAC, but no one really gave him any sort of resistance. So I get it. It's like, oh, is he going to have cardio problems if it gets out of round one? Is he? I really, until I see it happen, I mean, we have no idea, right? And Dolgarian, I mean, the dude is a elite wrestler. I mean, the way that he gets in aggressively and goes through, cutting through guards, getting into these mount positions, that type of confidence only comes with a certain level of experience. And he has a high level wrestling background. I think Marshall is a big green overall, and I think he's got less finishing potential. And all of his submission wins are coming by like rear naked choke after he's just kind of like, tooled around on someone. I don't think he could just bully around Dolgarian physically. I think Dolgarian's going to be the better athlete. I think he's going to be the better wrestler. And I think he's going to have more power on the feet. I like Dolgarian here as the dog, and I was going to take him in his last fight too. The only thing I would be concerned about is if he's not 100% for all these fight cancellations and coming in. But I think it just gives him more time to work on his game. And he's at Factory X too. Dude trains in elevation. I think his cardio is going to be fine. I think his striking looked fine from distance. I think he's going to be a better fighter here.
What an interesting fight. Fire Marshall comes in right off the Contender Series, right? He comes in on the Contender Series as a guy that known for being violent, has a decision with Connor Matthews to get the contract, in a fight that he just kind of beat the piss out of him. Beats up Rojo pretty badly, but Rojo's a guy that's just a propensity for violence and doesn't really care if he wins his fights or not. And then, a tough fight with Gomez, which, you just like you said, a well layered striker that just had was a little too unorthodox for Francis, and he couldn't really get going, and he couldn't find him. Isaac is just a completely different matchup. It's apples and oranges. It's so rare that they do that. And Isaac is just absolutely vicious. And like you said, has faced zero resistance in anything he's doing. But in what he's doing, he's so technical and so vicious. It's like, fuck, man. I hard to think that Francis, who just based on his style, which is just kind of loose and a little flowy, like his hips are there and he's skinny. Dolgarian is a little bit smaller, but he's fucking jacked. And he's obviously the better athlete. Look at the 4-inch reach advantage, despite being 2 inches shorter, just more of a physical specimen. Man, I think you're right. I think you're going to have to take a crazy stab on the dog here. It's got to be dog or pass, right? Francis's only path is I obviously surviving this tsunami of a first round that Dolgarian has to offer and seeing whatever the fuck he's got to offer in second and third, since nobody knows what the fuck that is. I mean, this guy had 4 round one finishes on his amateur circuit. He has not been outside round 2. It's intense. So, Mr. Kelly, like your cold plunges that I just so intense. What do you got for this matchup?
Yeah, this is one of the fights I'm most excited about. I think this is going to be really fun, like you guys touched on. I think Francis Fire Marshall, it was kind of a disappointing performance against William Gomez. He just really couldn't track him down. He was swinging at air for the majority of that fight. Very disappointing. But I think this one he's going to have no problem, just because both of these guys are looking to get after it. Now I say no problem in that he's not going to be swinging at air, not that he's going to not have a problem winning, because I do think Dolgarian is very physical. I think Dolgarian's the better technical wrestler while he's fresh. You mentioned he comes from a high level wrestling background. He was an All-American in high school, wrestled D2 at Notre Dame, and you see it in his fights. Yes, he hasn't faced any sort of high level competition, but he is buzzing right through these guys. He hasn't been outside of like 3 minutes across any of his fights. He's basically just taking them down and smashing them on the mat. So I think while he's fresh and while he has the cardio, he's going to be a problem for Francis Marshall, who's basically just a cardio bully. Marshall does have some solid wrestling himself. He only wrestled at high school, so he's not going to be as credentialed in terms of the wrestling. I do think he's going to struggle with just the explosive athleticism of Dolgarian early. But if Dolgarian does slow down, which I think a lot of people are assuming he will, and I'm not sure, he might, but if he does, then I think that's where Francis Marshall could really make him pay, because we've seen him before really just gas pedal guys in the second and third round. So I think an interesting way to play this one is either take a Dolgarian round 1 prop, or just take his money line pre, but also bet Marshall by round 2 or round 3 finish, because you're almost always going to profit having plus money on both sides of that. I feel like you're basically there's very few outcomes where you're not going to hit one of those winners here. So I slightly lean with the dog as well, just because I like this kid. I think he's very explosive, but just keep in mind there's some risk here. And if that cardio does fall off, Francis Marshall's probably going to find the finish in the later rounds.
Yeah, only loss for Marshall by decision. I'm even kind of curious, like similar to, what's a Bulgarian by decision prop going to look like? Just on some craziness if he wins the first couple of rounds on wrestling,
Yeah, what if he does have cardio, right? Imagine he's got 3 rounds of wrestling cardio. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
He's going to be a problem.
Jeez. All right. So, yeah. Hey, I think we're all kind of leaning the dog here. So if that tells you anything, let's get a little dog shot out there. Plus 140. I like it. Here we are in the heavyweight division. We got the real heavy boys. Martin Budai absolutely pushing the scales. One of those dudes that actually cuts to make heavyweight. And Josh Parisian, I mean, add him to the list also. That dude is beefy. We got Parisian plus 180 versus Budai minus 218. Budai going to be 3 years younger. They are the same height. Budai giving up a couple inches of reach. And I think that some of the tendencies of Josh Parisian are going to lead him into some of the stronger points of Martin Budai. Baddies is his nickname. Budai's going to kind of just get his clinch game working here. I think he's going to wear down on Parisian. He should be able to, be a little bit more the technical guy, better defense on the feet from distance. I feel like Parisian is kind of craziness or bust. I mean, you look at his record, it's, losing to Dontel Mays in that type of fashion. I think Martin Budai could do much worse. So minus 218, that's who I'm going to be putting in my parlay with Josh Frem. I think you can get away with 2 legs at about plus money there.
He's down to minus 205.
Down to minus 205. Oh, baby. Keeps on moving.
Yeah, I really like Martin Budai in this fight. And I think it has all to do with how I think the fight's going to play out. And how I think the fight is going to play out is I think it's going to be a slop fest decision where they push on each other and strike a little bit. And I think Martin Budai is, a better striker, and probably he's not the. It's weird. How could you decide who's the better athlete? The computer, the 6'4" computer gamer that then became a UFC fighter, or Josh Parisian? Yeah, I don't know. What I do like, though, is I like Budai to really push on Parisian against the clinch, against the cage. And I think he's going to control him there for a fair amount of time. And I think that's how he scores in this fight. And I think that's how he wins this fight. So when I can get a line at, they've opened over 2.5 at minus 130, which means when they drop it, that juicy fight goes a distance prop should be plus money. So if I can get a little plus money on that, I like my slot fest decisions. I think that's how it goes, and I like Budai to get it done. And I think he's parlayable. So shit, you know what? Let's add him to my bullshit parlay, because who can trust Martin Budai at minus 200? Why not? So, hey, that gets my crazy parlay up to plus 227 with Budai, Frem, McGee, and McKinney. And I still, again, feel like McGee is probably still the sketchiest one of them all. So, let's go.
John, what do you got here?
Unadvisable.
Pretty soon, Guru is going to have the entire card parlayed here.
Yeah, right? I'm like, my God, it just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, they say that to me a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, my God.
I'm honestly, I think this is the fight I'm the least excited about, to be honest with you. Like, Josh Parisian's one of the worst heavyweights to do it, not named Kevin Safarski, who we just saw on Contender Series.
Yes.
But honestly, I think Budai, like, I've never been high on Budai. I think Budai is generally a fade moving forward. We haven't been able to get it right yet, and I don't think this is the spot. but I think he gets a win here. It's probably not pretty, and then maybe we can fade him with a better fighter the next go around. But I do think Bidet wins. It's just a matter of if it's a decision or if Parisian just looks for a way out and it ends up being a TKO.
Well, is it bidet or bidet? Because
Is it
bidet,
bidet or
I'm
bidet?
telling
Is
you
it
not to
bidet
fade
or
the bidet,
bidet?
man. Don't fade the bidet. If you've never used a bidet, you should try one because those you shouldn't fade. But bidet, I don't know.
Bidet or bidet? Is it bidet or
I
bidet?
honestly have no idea. I'm not sure if which way is the right way.
I believe
Bidet
it's
or
I believe it
bidet?
I believe it's bidet because a bidet is definitely the toilet that cleans your butt.
I feel like that's accurate too, though.
My God.
I mean, I've heard it both ways.
Wait, you're telling me going to split decision with Rocky Martinez doesn't convince you about Parisian as a dog in this fight? Come on.
Yeah, I mean that's
Only the
I'll
best. Only the best go to split decision. with
only
Rocky
the best
Martinez.
knock out Alan Badeau in round 2.
God. All right, so we're moving
He's
on
not
to
bidet either. He's Badeau or Boudot.
So apparently we have minus 238 versus Montserrat Conejo. Not sure what happened there. Jacqueline Amarim. Jacqueline Amarim versus Montserrat Conejo Ruiz. Conejo, her nickname is just kind of her name, according to the UFC. I like it though; it's marketable. She gets up there, with like the bunny outfit, shaking her butt at the face-offs. So much to where she'll piss off Cheyenne Buys. Tawana, I'll follow you home, bitch.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was great. So, anyways, Jacqueline Amarim,
fight for a minute there.
can she defend a head and arm throw? That's the only question I have in this matchup. Can Jacqueline Amarim defend a head and arm throw? At 20, I mean, Jacqueline Amarim should be the much better jiu-jitsu practitioner, and she has she's 3 inches taller, going to have a 6-inch reach advantage. It's just Cheyenne Vlismus. We saw that didn't necessarily matter. She's getting head and arm thrown and just controlled in a scarf hold, but she's going for trying to get the legs over. I think Amarim could be a bit more athletic in those positions, and Conejo kind of taken to the mat could lead her to some bad positions that you might be safe against Cheyenne, but you wouldn't be safe against Amarim. And it's one of those where I just kind of have to stay away from a money line play on this fight. I kind of lean towards like the fight not going the distance here. Under 2.5 at minus 145. So I think there is still a decent amount of value. I think, Conejo is going to come out aggressive on the front foot, coming forward, throwing big strikes, and then looking for head and arm throws and punishing stuff on the mat. But Amarim should be looking for the finish. It's just, it could be one of the sketchiest fights you ever bet or played in your life. So Amarim, is she going to get the sub? I don't know. I think I'm just going to pass on betting.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand. You're telling me that you feel like there's value on an under 2.5 minus 145 in a women's strawweight fight? Is that what I heard you say?
Well, that's why I just decided I'm just passing altogether.
Okay, I just wanted.
I don't like it.
For what it's worth, I agree with the underlook.
I know it just feels dirty.
You got to take. It does feel dirty.
I would just prefer to play Amarim by sub. That's basically what you're playing with the under, I think, and you're getting a better number.
I really think that if you're playing Amarim, you're playing a dart throw. I truly think it's Amarim by submission in round 1, or she falls off a cliff. I don't think she's got anything to offer after 5 minutes. You saw her completely dead and disheartened against Sam Hughes. If she had even a little bit more cardio, keep pushing and go back to getting that choke again, because that was as close as it could fucking be without submitting somebody. I mean, that was really close. Ruiz getting knocked out by Amanda Lemos. Like, can't we just scrub that from the, like, who cares? Like, that girl's fighting for the title now. Like, snap your fingers, she's fighting for the title. This girl hasn't fought since. So at plus 195, I've seen so much women's MMA nonsense. How can I not consider now this line it's minus 250 Amarim plus 205 Ruiz? I'm thinking a little sprinkle on Ruiz, or maybe even live, because like I said, if she survives round 1 sub of Amarim, I don't think Amarim's got anything. So
Yeah.
Mr. Kelly. Any thoughts on this one? I know you were saying you like the under 2.5 a bit, but anything else?
I think Amarim subs are in one, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I wouldn't mind the under. I think it's a playable price, but I might take a poke at the Amarim sub. I don't know what I know FanDuel didn't drop their props yet. That's usually what I wait for because they have a better number. I was gonna say too, though, when you were talking about the under and Guru kind of had a disgusted look on his face. Honestly, when you made that face, you looked like Uncle June from The Sopranos. I don't know if you guys are Sopranos guys, but it was like identical. And I'm going to do a screen grab of it later so you can see the side by side. It's perfect.
I love it. That's amazing.
That's awesome.
I will say though, the wrestling here,
like him.
He is. Oh my god.
What voice was that? Was that your Italian voice? Was that your Jew voice? What was that? A woman? What voice was that?
Sometimes I feel like Tony Soprano dealing with Uncle June, trying to bring me down. I'm just trying to help the family.
I'm going to shoot you is what I'm going to do.
I'm trying to help the podcast.
Sorry, not YouTube. Don't suspend me. I'm not actually going to do that. I'm sorry. No violence advocated for unless it's MMA related.
All right, so
we're completely off the rails.
Yeah, that's it. So we got to our next fight here. Damon Blackshear minus 180. Jose Johnson, Damon the Monster Blackshear versus Jose Lobo Solitario, the Lone Wolf Johnson. This is what you get. The translations on Chronic Combat.
I always like that.
That's right. The Lobo Solitario. You don't have to go the rest of your life wondering what that means. But Damon Blackshear here, I mean, taking this fight on full notice, he should have the ability to use either top control or some dangerous striking in the early going to kind of pull away in this matchup. Luan Lacerda ran
Where did
into
you get this line from?
So I got bet 365.
Okay.
Yeah, it's minus 175 now actually.
Yeah, because Damon at minus 175, minus 180. I mean, that's a really good price, I think.
Yeah. Also, it looks like UFC Stats updated Jose Johnson's reach to only 71 inches. Interesting. Well, because I thought he was gonna, and then now I'm looking at their nicknames, Lobo Solitario. And Jose Johnson is not going to have a reach advantage according to UFC Stats at this point.
And now Tapology has it 71 as well. So
yeah, so that got adjusted from when he was supposed to make his debut originally, when he completely missed weight. Who was that supposed to be against? Who was Jose Johnson? Against Garrett Armfield
and Vince Morales. He withdrew.
Oh no shit. Yeah, so I mean, I guess they brought him back. They're like, hey,
Armfield, yeah.
Let's make weight on short notice here, Jose.
He's not
is he going to be ready?
No.
Oh, God. So, all right. So we'll see if that happens. That's our. Or is this going to be like Julia Stoliarenko, where we're talking about it all week, and then he's
Julia. No, listen. Yeah. I really like Damon here. His 5 losses are all decision losses, and Jose Johnson has mostly finished. 10 of 15 finishes. 10 of 15 of his wins are by finish. So, that's basically how he needs to get it done. Damon, I think, is the better grappler. And you're not submitting Damon. And he's tough as shit. So, I don't think you're necessarily knocking him out either. If Farid Basharat isn't finishing you, Jose Johnson isn't. And I think this is a really good chance for Damon to get it done. And a sub minus 200 money line on a guy that's had a full camp against Jose Johnson, who was cut from the UFC and now back, despite whatever Dan Levy tries to tell me. Yeah, I like Damon to get it done. What do you think, Jon Kelly?
Yeah, I really don't have much to add. I think Jose Johnson is fighting an uphill battle here. We've seen time and time again against these lesser known grapplers, he's been able to be a little slick, create some exciting scrambles and reverse positions. He's not going to be able to do that against UFC level grapplers. And Damon Blackshear, that's what he's best at, taking the back, controlling his opponents on the mat, He's a BJJ black belt as well. I just think he's going to be much more positionally sound than a guy like a Jack Cartwright from the Contender Series and some of these other guys that Jose Johnson was able to fight out of some bad positions on the regional scene. And he also wasn't able to fight out of a lot of those positions. He's been submitted multiple times in his career as well. And ultimately, I think that's what happens here. So I'm going Blackshear by submission. That's my look.
Yes, sir. I like when we agree, Mr. Kelly, because you're a sharp guy and it makes me feel sharper. So I like that. I like that. You know what I'm saying? When you stand near a bright light, you look, you know what I'm saying? Your light shines brighter, you know? So I like that. That makes sense.
All right. So that brings us to our opener fight card opener, our last matchup to break down of the day. We've got Juliana Killer Miller versus Luana Banana Santos.
Banana.
So I think Juliana Miller here, she's gonna be 3 years older, have a 1-inch height advantage, giving up an inch of reach here to Luana Santos. I think Santos coming in, the judo background, you could see it. I mean, athletic, gets in close, loves the hip tosses. Actually, pretty solid striker from distance, does well when she gets the top control. I think Juliana Miller might be outclassed technically in this matchup. And while I went into tape hey, I might want to take a dog shot here, and I came out and I was like, Luana Santos' price might not be wide enough, and it keeps on getting wider. I feel like I might have missed it. Originally had a minus 130 if I wanted it. Now minus 162. Don't love it as much, I will admit. Sucks I missed the line, but she might end up in one of those round robin a bunch of favorites, and as long as the majority of them win, you're doing all right instead of just laying one gigantic parlay. Especially if you're feeling good about 5 to 6 picks on the card, you can have a little fun in that way too with your betting. So if you want to do the guru method, throwing a 5th or 6th leg to the parlay here. But
you don't have to tell me twice. Let's throw the banana in there.
My God, Uncle June MMA. What do you got to say?
I'm changing my fucking handicap. my handy. What do they call it? My handle to Uncle June.
Whoa! Changing his handy, mug.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, Uncle June really likes Luana Santos here, like the line movement seems to. I thought that Luana Santos was the much more technical striker. Juju Miller still fights like she's fuck you guys.
He keeps laughing.
I know, I'm just fucking with you guys. Juju Miller fights like she's in a school lunchroom. She just throws haymaker crazy strikes. Honestly, Sopranos is one of my favorite shows. A little bit, possibly one of the best shows of all time. So fucking good. Amazing. So any way to be reminded of it works for me. And Uncle June's the fucking boss, man. So you can't tell. Him nothing.
He thinks he's the boss.
Exactly, and you can't tell him nothing, and you can't tell me nothing either. So it's fine.
Let me tell you something. The dynamic of this podcast makes that so much funnier.
So not only is Luana Santos the more technical striker, even though she's got poor striking defense herself and does not move her head at all, I honestly think Juliana Miller's bread and butter, which is going to be her grappling. I honestly think Luana Santos, the black belt judo practitioner, is actually the better fighter on the ground, and that's going to be a problem for Miller, who's going to drop another fight and resort more heavily to OnlyFans than she does now. So I got Luana Santos here, and Corrado out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. I like Luana Santos here. I think she's decent. I don't think she's fighting for a belt anytime soon, but I was just really kind of underwhelmed by Juliana Miller, not just in the tough finale against Brogdon Walker, where she was able to run through her, but Brogdon Walker doesn't have much resistance in terms of the grappling or the durability. And then Veronica Hardy, coming off a super long layoff, was able to just ground Miller for the most part in that fight and kind of dominate her. So I think that was just a big red flag. Luana Santos, I see a young fighter, 23 years old, like you have on screen. improving from fight to fight. She's fought over in LFA. She seems to be a good striker. I think she's much more technically solid than Juliana Miller. I think she's going to be throwing more volume as well. She's got good straight punches with that right hand. She throws a lot of low calf kicks as well, which she has success with. And you mentioned she comes from a high-level judo background with a black belt in judo. And we've seen her rely on that wrestling more so in her recent fights. She's really just been going and taking her opponents down and kind of dominating on them on the mat. And I just think that she's going to be able to do that here. I think she's the better striker, and I actually think she's going to win these grappling exchanges. So I think she should have been a bigger favorite. I was tempted at the minus 140, didn't bet it, and now she's starting to swell up. So it seems like the market agrees. I'm probably not going to end up betting her, but I do think she gets her hand raised.
Another fight where we agree, Mr. Kelly. I love it. Love it so much, man. And listen, we like to have fun around here. We joke a little, we joke viciously, but we love even more viciously. You know what I mean? So it's all love over here.
Yeah, it's every Saturday we're watching them fights together, and we love having amazing guests like Jon Kelly on.
Absolutely,
to help us break down these fights, because just amazing. Thanks, Gino Alpha, for jumping in the chat here. Appreciate you. And I want to say thanks to everybody joining us. If you haven't already, throw a like on the video. It really helps us grow the channel and get this reaching out to more viewers. Share us around on the socials. And just thanks. I mean, really love breaking down fights and every Saturday being able to watch them. And it makes it even better having some bets out, having a good time, and having awesome guests like Jon Kelly. So,
unbelievable.
John, did you have any last words before we pass this off to Corrado MMA to take us out?
Sorry, I think I might have cut out there. Could you guys hear me?
Yeah, it cut for a second, but you're back.
Okay, I think I'm back now. Yeah, right when you said, do you have any last words, it froze. But yeah, no, I was just going to say thanks for having me on, guys. Definitely appreciate it. Always fun to chop it up with you guys and catch up. And the only thing I'll plug is Dana White Contender Series. I put a lot of work into it on my YouTube at Jon Kelly DFS. I tweet out my content on Twitter. You can follow me there. Best of luck tonight, or not tonight, but this weekend, boys. And hopefully we can do this again in the future.
Absolutely, John. Literally, would love to have you on anytime, man. Truly a pleasure. Sharp guy, a nice guy, and really just really appreciate your time. And we had a blast, man, for real, because it was fucking fun, man. What else can I say? Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. If you're not following my co-host TB Scout and MMA, Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology, man, you're messing up. Me, the Guru Scouting MMA, or Corrado MMA, possibly moving forward. Twitter, Verdict, Instagram, and Tapology. Listen, if you haven't watched The Sopranos, go sign up for Max and go watch The Sopranos. It is probably the best TV show of all time. Next week, UFC 292. Aljamain Sterling defending his bantamweight title against Sugar Sean O'Malley. I mean, crazy fight. Can't wait to discuss that. So make sure you're here. And hey, listen, we'll hope to be back on Monday as well with a Dana White Contender Series show of our own. So check us out and take care, and let's win some money.